Ex-wife married my best friend. It's killing me and destroying my marriage. I 37 male, have been with my wife 26 female for 5 years and have been married for 4 years. We have 3 kids from her previous relationships, 2 boys and 1 girl, between the ages of 5 and 8. I really love her and her kids. Things were perfect until 3 or 4 months ago. I've had 3 big promotions in 5 years. We bought a house last year. She stays home with the kids and is trying to make a social media career happen. I have always been on the fence about having kids, but she really wanted us to have one together, so I agreed to try to have my vasectomy reversed. She is 7 months pregnant now. We were so happy. My ex-wife divorced me in 2019 and moved about 2 hours away, a few months into the pandemic. Our divorce was amicable, but once it was finalized, I never heard from her again, even when I would wish her well on birthdays and holidays. I even sent her a graduation gift when I heard that she had finished her PhD program. Other people in our social circle, including my parents and sister-in-law, who sent her a gift, received handwritten thank you cards. I didn't get so much as a text. My ex-wife is a really kind and thoughtful person, and the woman I knew would have at least sent a thank you text if her worst enemy sent her a gift. Even though we broke up, I didn't think she hated me. My best friend and I have been best friends since college. He's the best person I know, and at least 10 people think he's their best friend, but he said that I was his, always. We kind of lost touch during the pandemic. We live 2 hours apart and he is a lawyer and teaches classes at a university. So he is really busy. I have a really busy career and a new wife and 3 kids. I didn't really realize that the texts between us were fewer and that the last time he finally replied to me was in late 2021. He also falls off the face of the earth when he gets with a new girl. And then when things cool off, we all hear from him more. We have always been the kind of friends that could go an extended period of time without communicating and then pick up right where we left off. I kept saying that I would eventually call him when things were less busy. My wife and I went to visit the city where he and my ex-wife lived last summer for a week, and I tried calling him a couple of times to meet up, but he never answered. I was sad, but I just figured he was busy with work or obsessed with a new girlfriend. I have other friends there, so I got to see them. Then I went to the city again by myself in October for a Halloween party. I figured he'd be at this party, and I was psyched that I'd get to see him then. He was there. When I went to say hi and hug him, he looked a little surprised and gave me a weak hug. I told him that I was there during the summer and that I tried calling him so we could hang out. He just said, "Yeah, I was on my honeymoon that week. Sorry I didn't get back to you." I was really shocked to hear that he'd gotten married, and a little hurt that my best friend got married without me even knowing he had a serious girlfriend, but still happy for him. Like I said, he was a great guy, and girls love him. I spit out a rush of questions like, who is she? Where is she? What's her name? What's she like? Where'd you meet her? How long have you been together? He paused for a moment and then just bluntly said, "It's ex-wife's name." My ex-wife doesn't have a unique name or anything, but it isn't the most common name either. And instantly, I knew that it was her. I can't describe how it felt to hear those 2 words come out of his mouth. I felt sick to my stomach and I immediately wanted to die. I have never felt like that before. I just said, "What the fuck?" He told me that I didn't get to be mad because I broke her heart and they didn't start dating until 2 years after we got divorced and that I chose to be with some waitress anyway. I drank the rest of the weekend because it was the only way I was able to sleep. I feel betrayed by both of them. My best friend since I was 20 years old married my ex-wife behind my fucking back. I was married to her for 6 years and they were never even friends and now they are in love with each other. I also found out that he talked shit about my current wife and me behind my back and never liked her. I went back home and I know that I was distant with my wife and the kids because I was just hurting so much. After a couple of weeks we had a big fight and she called me out on being distant and accused me of cheating. I finally came clean and told her about my ex and my best friend, which she scoffed about and said she'd known about them for a long time now because of social media. I flew into a rage and we fought for hours. She betrayed me by not telling me the entire time she knew. She didn't say anything when I mentioned my best friend not returning my calls or messages. I didn't get to sleep before going to work, and after work, I just stayed with my parents for a few days. When I finally went back home, we got into another fight where she accused me of still being in love with my ex and said that I wouldn't care if I wasn't. I called her stupid and said that she wouldn't understand because she doesn't have any friends. I wouldn't care if my ex-wife got married to anyone else if it wasn't my best friend. I don't see what is so hard to understand about that. We made up eventually, but I feel sick to my stomach every day and things aren't the same in our relationship. I love my wife, but I've come to realize it's not the same way I loved my ex-wife. My wife doesn't love me the same way my ex-wife did either. I have started to regret the things that led to our divorce because we were really happy until the moment she left me. I don't even have my best friend to call because he's too busy with my ex-wife to care about me anymore. Everything feels empty and like a lie now. A lot of friends agree that they both betrayed me but think I need to move on. Even my dad and brother told me to get over it. My sister-in-law yelled at me, and my mum tried to comfort me, but I know she's overhearing about my problems. I have to pretend I'm okay, but I'm not. No one gives a shit about mental health when it comes to men. I brought up couples therapy to my wife, but she said that she thinks we are okay since we work through things. I guess I have to pretend for the rest of my life now because divorce is not on the table. I need advice on what to do and how to get closure. I am thinking of driving to their city to just show up and force them to talk to me so I can move on. Is that too much to ask? How do I get my wife to see that it is hard to trust her after knowing she kept a big secret from me for a long time? Reddit didn't hold back on this one. One commenter said, I called her stupid and said that she wouldn't understand because she doesn't have any friends. Well done, Professor. Another added, apparently, neither does he. If your best friend doesn't speak to you for 3 years, they may be your best friend, but you are not theirs. And one user cut right to the heart of it. So if any of this is true, you, at 32, cheated on your wife with a 21-year-old with 3 kids. Your divorce was not amicable. She just wanted you out of her life. The fact that she never replied to you even once after the divorce wasn't a hint. That last comment prompted OP to admit the truth. He did cheat on his ex-wife with his now wife. His ex found out, left him, and cut all contact afterward. He said, I miss my best friend. I miss my ex-wife. I love her and never stop loving her. I know I fucked up. OP also shared a mini update in the post. Update. The overwhelming consensus here is that I am a piece of shit, which is true. The other consensus is that I need therapy. I asked my brother to help me, but neither of us even know where to begin to find a therapist. He said he would ask his wife to help us, and she texted me this morning and said she was only helping because of my brother. I guess that's fair. A few months later, OP came back with an interesting update. Update, 2 months later. This is kind of an update to my last post a few months ago, and I am also hoping for advice on how to best navigate this. I have tried a couple of times to write this update, but I get stressed trying to make it all make sense, so I will just dump it all here and hope it comes out okay. I guess I should start by saying that I had or have a lot more issues than my original post addressed, or that I even recognized at the time. Therapy is helping me uncover a lot of it, and it's really uncomfortable on the good days and crushing on the bad days. So many people talk about how they feel so much better after going to therapy, but I feel worse. I'm still going to go though, because for as much as it sucks, it is helping me learn better ways of dealing with things. It is also helping me explain myself to myself a little better. Like, I am a shitty person, but I wasn't always a shitty person, and I am starting to see where it all went wrong. I feel like understanding that is the only way I can address those things and then become a better person. I did inpatient therapy, and then after my release, I see a therapist in her office. Once a week and meet virtually once a week. I also see a psychiatrist once every 2 weeks and started on some medications. It's weird how I can kind of see them helping parts of my brain but dulling other parts and making my body not feel the best. I try to explain it to the doctor, but he just tells me it is going to take some time for them to fully work, and that eventually I will get used to it. My wife had the baby, but while I was away, she told me about the possibility of the baby not being mine. I grieve that so much, but I decided it wasn't much good in dwelling on it too much right now until we knew for sure once she was born. The results came back last week, and she isn't mine. We haven't made any decisions right now about our relationship, but we are living together for the sake of the kids and her recovery from having the baby. She said that if I didn't want to be with her anymore, she'd go back to her home state with her mum and stepdad. She also mentioned that she knew she wouldn't get alimony or child support because of our state, but I told her I would help her get back home and on her feet if that's what ended up happening. Since I got back home, I have stepped up more and been more active as a dad, which has been really good for me. Being a responsible and present father helps me forget about all of the other stuff in the moment. But it would be a lie for me to say that I don't worry about how much it'll hurt to lose them if we break up since they are not biologically or legally mine. I also just worry about them a lot and think they deserve to have a safe and stable and happy childhood. I'm really sad that the baby isn't mine. I wanted her to be mine more than anything in the world. But I find it really hard to be angry with my wife, for some reason. I cheated on my first wife with her, so it's kind of karma in a way. And what could I really expect when our relationship started the way that it did? Plus, there's this other part of me that understands that she is a deeply damaged person, like me. I don't really want to go into a lot of details, but we both lived through some similar shit happening to us when we were kids that bonded us. Neither of us really dealt with it, but I thought that I was okay because I grew up privileged and she didn't, so I always had more opportunities than she did. I also thought that since I didn't think about it as much, I was okay. She thought about it all the time and she wasn't okay. My ex-wife is an amazing woman and she deserves to be happy. I sent her an email and just kind of poured my heart out about how sorry I am for hurting her. I would rip my heart out to give to her if it helped her heal from the heartbreak I caused her. I said in the email that I didn't expect to reply and that I would never attempt contact with her again after that. She got in contact with my brother a few times to check on me, and she's called me twice and we talked for a few hours about everything. She's really happy and she's doing well. I'm proud of her, and she deserves to be happy. I am really lucky that I had the years that I had with her, but now it is time to accept how I screwed up and try my best to do better going forward. I don't think I will ever contact her again, but I would be happy to hear from her if she ever reaches out again. It still hurts a little, but I understand now that that door is fully closed. The door with my friend is closed too. We haven't spoken and we probably never will, but that's okay. I found out from other friends that he was always in love with my ex-wife and that he was the person who convinced her to move to where they live now after our divorce. I think knowing helps because the story I created in my head was far worse. I also understand now why no one wanted to tell me. My brother and I got so close again, which his wife isn't the happiest about. I am not sure where I would be right now if it wasn't for him. We invited them over during the weekend, and at one point she and I were in a room alone for a few minutes, and I told her that I was sorry, and she just hugged me and told me that I was stupid, but that she knew I was trying. I also have two really good friends who have been there for me through everything even though they have been clear from the very beginning that they have not agreed with my actions. All of them are more than I deserve. My relationship with my parents isn't in the best place right now. They are both really mad at me because my brother confronted them about what I told him related to the thing that happened when I was a kid. They feel like he is blaming them and that they did the best they could for me. I think that they are really embarrassed too. I get it and I don't really blame them. I don't think they knew what to do, but I am not going to apologize to them either. So until I do, they don't really want to be around me. I'm not sure that this is the update that anyone wanted to read, but it's all I've got. My life is still very much in limbo, maybe even shambles. But I am doing my best to fix it and to fix some of the hurts I have caused others. I would recommend therapy, as much as everyone recommended it to me, but I would caution to add that it requires a lot of honesty to work, and that sometimes that kind of honesty reopens old wounds. But those wounds are dirty and infected, so you've got to clean them up and treat them to get better, which is going to hurt, but I am not sure there is any other way. This time, Reddit was again blunt but fair. Another commenter summarized it grimly. The current wife had 2 kids when they met. She was also in a relationship with another man, so they were both cheating with each other. She had a 3rd kid while they were enjoying their affairs, and apparently it was in question whether the dad was her ex or the married co-worker she was fucking. Now, the 4th kid has been born. Well, unfortunately for him, he literally planted every seed of his downfall. Still, his brutal honesty in the update makes it hard not to feel at least a little sympathy. He's facing his mistakes head-on and trying to grow. My husband may have cheated on me with my dead best friend and had an affair baby. I don't even know where to start. The past 6 months have been an absolute clusterfuck and it only seems to be getting worse. My best friend since elementary school, who I'll call Alice, passed away in February from cancer. She had a 2-year-old daughter who went into the custody of her mum after she passed away, who I'll call Alexis. Last month, Alexis showed up on our doorstep unannounced, telling my husband he needs to take responsibility for his child and either take custody or start finally paying child support. She says that Alice had told her when her daughter was born who the father was, but didn't want anything to do with him. To answer the inevitable, Alice was a traveling nurse and made a lot of money, which is the only reason I can think of for why she didn't go for child support. During this conversation, my husband had the worst panic attack he's ever had, so we had to end the conversation before I could get more details. My husband's story is, I don't even know. He said that Alice's daughter is probably his, but that it isn't what I think. Almost 3 years ago, we threw a large housewarming party as we'd just moved into our dream home after I finally finished residency and was set to make real money for once. Alice was in town and set to be at the party, but I was called into work before she got there. I didn't get back until after 3 a.m. The party was winding down, my husband was passed out upstairs, and Alice had already left the party, which at the time I did find strange, as we hadn't seen each other in months. My husband claims he woke up in the middle of the night to Alice on top of him, but he passed out again before he could say anything. He claims he never told me because he was worried I wouldn't believe him, which I don't know if I do. He showed me some texts he sent his best friend the next day, asking for his advice about him thinking someone sexually assaulted him, but if he cheated he could have had that conversation as evidence, especially since he never said Alice specifically. Ever since the party, he has been very distant with Alice, and after she had her daughter, he would even find excuses not to be around the house when she would visit at all. I don't know if that's because he cheated or if Alice did actually assault him and this was his trauma response. Honestly, Reddit, I don't know what to do. I've known Alice since we were children, and she had never come across as that kind of person. But I've also known my husband for over a decade, and he's not once ever given the inclination of a cheater. He's an attractive guy, and I've seen the looks he gets at the gym, but he's never even given them more than a glance. What the hell should I do? How do I figure out what the truth is here when Alice isn't even around to defend herself? She never even implied she liked my husband, let alone wanted to sleep with him. I told my husband he needs to get a DNA test before anything is decided on the child's part, but in the meantime, he needs to move out while I think about what I'm going to do here. Reddit was deeply divided on this one. Some thought the husband was guilty, while others saw the signs of trauma. Top comment says. Another commenter said, "Test. If it was assault, your husband may still face legal and financial obligations depending on jurisdiction." And then another puts it plainly. His reaction screams trauma response to me. Not being believed is a victim's worst nightmare. After reading the comments, OP returned with an emotional realization. She believed her husband was telling the truth. In her next update, OP said she has now accepted the bitter truth. Update in the post after reading the comments. After talking with you, I've come to the realization that my husband is being truthful. My best friend sexually assaulted him. Several people pointed out that with Alice not liking my husband, if it was an affair, she would have told me when she was dying, if only to separate us. You're absolutely right. I was there in the room when she passed. I held her hands for days. We talked about so much. If it was just an affair she would have told me, but if she assaulted my husband she wouldn't have said a word. That's the type of thing horrible people take to the grave. I've also come to the realization that I made a terrible mistake asking my husband to leave for a few days while I gather my thoughts. Not to make excuses, but losing my best friend to cancer, a long cancer fight at that, was brutal. To say that I was devastated wouldn't do it justice. Although it happened only 6 months ago, I'm still feeling it every day. So to have this thrown on me, it's like I'm losing her all over again. Either she betrayed me and fucked my husband, or she betrayed me and assaulted my husband. Not only have I lost her, but now I've lost the good memories, an entire lifetime's worth. It was impossible for me to look at him and not also see her and be struck with the horror and realization of that loss all over again. I felt I needed to be able to break down, grieve and think without the fresh wave of loss I got every time I saw him. It was wrong of me to ask him to leave. You're right though, and as of a few minutes ago, I've righted this wrong. I called my husband, I apologized, told him I believed him and begged him to come home. He'll be here in half an hour at most and I'm going to support my husband the way I know he would have supported me. I've been an on and off Reddit user for several years, and sometimes the advice given on subreddits like these can be a bit hit or miss. But today, you guys did good. You've helped me realize not only that I was wrong in being stupid at that, but that I was hurting the person who needed me the most. I was selfish. I have no idea what we're going to do, as far as the potential daughter is concerned, but I can assure you we'll deal with it together. It's going to take a lot of time and probably a lot of therapy to grieve this new loss. I feel numb now as though I'll never cry again. My best friend assaulted my husband, which means she was no friend of mine. She flaunted it coming to my house, sitting with me and gabbing. She brought her child here, trying to rub it in his face right in front of me. She tortured the man I loved and I was an unknowing party to it. I feel sick to my stomach over how many times she came over, just to hold it over him. I'm honestly at a loss on how to make that up too. If you all have any ideas, please feel free to give them to me. I think I'll need all the help I can get. Tomorrow, I'm going to take a leave of absence from work, just until we can figure out our next steps and we can get our heads on straight. Thank you everyone. Update, 7 months later. I've received a lot of messages asking for an update, so I've decided to finally sit down and write one out. As you can imagine, after the clusterfuck that was thrust upon us, this update isn't likely to answer any of your questions. Only present a few more. I want to start by telling you all that I love and trust my husband. My reaction to ask him for space to think, in retrospect, was wrong. But at the time, I didn't know what to think. It was a combination of losing my best friend again, and also the fear that I was losing my husband that sent me spiraling. Again, it was a mistake to ask him to leave, and I did rectify that in the end. Now, for the update. As mentioned in the original post, I did take a leave of absence from work, and we spent a long time just being together. Talking, reaffirming our love for one another, and figuring out what to do next. We, of course, spoke with a lawyer, and my husband was very adamant about not having anything to do with the child, but was willing to offer financial support as needed. So we agreed to do a DNA test immediately to prove paternity and then go from there. I didn't know you could buy tests on Amazon, but with only a few weeks processing, it was the easiest path forward since Alexis lives hours away. To everyone's surprise, Alice's daughter is not my husband's. We ended up testing twice, both very, very definitive. The first test we performed ourselves, as mentioned, and another after Alexis refused to believe the first test and took my husband to court for child support. For a single second, this whole thing made me second guess if my husband was sexually assaulted, that this could have been her way of forcing my husband to admit to an affair. But after talking with Alexis, I don't think that was the plan. Alexis says that Alice told her my husband was the father under strict confidence, demanding that she never, ever tell me or my husband. We were only ever to be told if Alexis died before Alice's daughter was old enough to take care of herself so that she wouldn't end up in foster care. The only reason Alexis came to us then, instead of keeping that secret, was because Alice's life insurance wasn't being released yet and she was out of options. She also felt I should know my husband and her daughter had had an affair. This all reaffirms in my mind that Alice did assault my husband with the expectation of getting pregnant with his child. She obviously had other partners at the time, since one of them fathered her daughter, but no one knows who. It's clear to me that Alice believed it was my husband. I did suggest Alexis upload a sample to Ancestry to see if any matches pop up, but as Alice traveled all over for work, I don't know that anything will ever come of that. In truth, I've washed my hands of the situation. Alice did enough damage, and I don't particularly plan to be around for any more. My husband and I have gone through a lot of counseling, and will likely continue for a while. This whole situation damaged us both, my husband more obviously, and I don't think we'll fully heal for a very long while. To answer a few questions. No. Sadly, there isn't a hidden diary or text to explain what the fuck was going on. My husband and I are not getting divorced. He understands why I reacted the way I did and has been strong when I was weak before. I spent the past 7 months being strong while he was weak, so we are considering the whole thing even. We are still madly in love and plan to be together for a long time. Still more on this. No, we will not be adopting Alice's child. If she had been my husband's, we would not have been adopting the child. Ultimately, I thank Reddit for setting me straight. There was a massive outpouring of support and corrective advice. To say I got a slap in the face would be a descriptive but apt way to put it. I needed it then, and I thank you for it. To say that you may have saved my marriage is an understatement. I do, however, have some good news. During my leave of absence, while my husband and I rediscovered what makes us love each other the most, I got pregnant. We're expecting our first baby, a girl, in a little over 3 months, and my husband and I are ecstatic, and no, we will not be naming her after my dead ex-best friend. The tone of the replies shifted from shock to sympathy and closure. Commenter 1 says, "I'm willing to bet she was jealous of your life. For a moment, she wanted to know what it felt like to be you. She waited until your husband was drunk and took her shot." Another chimed in, "Honestly, I just think she wanted a child. She was sleeping with multiple people." And then someone added, "I hope for the sake of the child she finds answers someday." This story is one of the most disturbing twists I've read on Reddit. I really don't know how to feel about this one. I can't even imagine what they are going through. Must have been a nightmare. That friend of hers was a psycho. The fact that she believed the child was his, kept the child, and brought her to the victim's home is mind-blowing. Thankfully, that child isn't his, because I honestly can't imagine the horror of having to deal with such a situation. I accidentally caused a war between my family and my brother's wife's family with one innocent text message. My brother's wedding happened 2 days ago, and it turned into complete chaos, which I know even though I wasn't there. You might wonder why I didn't attend the wedding if it's my brother's. Well, it's because of his wife's family. He did send me an invitation to the wedding because he wanted me there, but his fiancée told him I couldn't attend because I had a boyfriend. You might be confused. I'm a man, a bisexual man to be exact, and I have a boyfriend who I wanted to bring to the wedding. She said that even though she doesn't have a problem with that, and he doesn't have a problem with that, her extremely religious parents, who already forced her, do the wedding in a church, would most likely banish us from the wedding and cause trouble between our families. After she told him that, my brother told me I couldn't attend and explained why. You might think I was angry. The truth is, I was relieved. I hate going to big events with lots of people because of my social anxiety, and I was already used to not being able to attend certain events because of my sexuality, so it was nothing I hadn't heard before. On the day of the wedding, I stayed at home with my boyfriend. It's worth mentioning that my parents apparently didn't know I wasn't attending the wedding. I was chilling at home, cuddling with my boyfriend, when I suddenly got a text message from my parents asking me where I was because they couldn't find me at the wedding party. I told them I wasn't attending the wedding and asked if my brother hadn't told them anything. They said no and asked me what happened. I didn't see any reason to lie, so I sent them a text message telling them exactly why. Now, I have to admit, I don't exactly know what happened after I sent them this message because they read it but didn't reply. And why do they care in the first place? They didn't notice I wasn't there until the wedding was already over. They only noticed when the wedding party started. However, apparently, my parents talked to my brother about it, and all of a sudden my absence was the main topic of the wedding party. From what I heard, two fronts formed. On the one hand, my parents and the rest of my family against the family of my brother's wife, and apparently he, as a husband, now felt compelled to take her side and try to argue in her favor. It's crazy to think that I was just sitting at home living my best life with my boyfriend while all of that shit went down at his wedding. The wedding party was ruined and my brother appeared at my door angrily screaming at me asking why I felt the need to ruin his wedding. I was confused and asked him what happened and he told me everything. I told him it wasn't my intention. I just told our parents what happened because they didn't know and wanted to know where I was and I thought he had told them beforehand. He screamed at me that I ruined his wedding. I told him it's not my fault that he wasn't honest with them. I just respected their wish for me not to attend the wedding. I couldn't know it would go down like this because, like I said, I couldn't attend several events before because of my sexuality and my parents never said anything about it. So I thought it would be the same thing here. But I got to admit, it's kind of sweet that my parents and the rest of my family stood up for me. They haven't done it before. That's a more than welcome change. But I still feel kind of bad because apparently I really ruined the wedding party. Reddit was mostly in support of OP. Top commenter said another commenter joked, a third commenter added, "Your brother is so stupid not to even realize that his wife ruined the wedding the second she told him his brother wasn't welcome. But he comes and screams at his brother. What a pathetic mess of a person." Later, OP returned with an update, and things apparently got worse. Update 1, 1 day later. I didn't think I'd give an update, but many interesting things happened. After my brother's visit, he and his wife went on their honeymoon. And the way the wedding party went might have been even worse than I imagined. What's happening now is incredible. When I said in the main post that two fronts had formed, I only meant that metaphorically, of course, but it's no longer that. While nothing much interesting happened in the first 2 days afterwards, the terror started as soon as my brother and his wife went on their honeymoon. My mom and dad visited me and told me how the wedding party escalated and they were so close to physical violence. I thought it was funny at first, but this truly bothers me. I also want to point out that you did a great job at convincing me it's not my fault, but hearing my parents' side still gave me a bad feeling in my stomach. However, like I said, the terror started shortly after they went on their honeymoon. And when I say terror, I mean that my sister-in-law's family found both my Facebook and Instagram accounts and started spamming me with hateful messages. I received insults and hateful messages from various accounts, which all had one thing in common. They all had somewhat of a Christian theme, and all of them had the same last name. So it wasn't hard to find out whose accounts they were, mainly because I don't know my sister-in-law's family at all. I only know her, and I know her parents are homophobic Christians. But whatever. They not only started attacking me, They also found the account of my boyfriend over my account because we're linked as a couple and started to send him the same messages. The messages contained, on one side, typical bigot stuff like, "You're burning in hell for your sins." One even called me and my boyfriend two devils in disguise. The other side was just blatant insults. You get the idea. I called my parents and told them what they are doing. Then I sent a text message to my brother with screenshots of the messages his wife's family sent me, to which he replied that I shouldn't disturb him with that during his honeymoon as I already destroyed his wedding party. I couldn't believe it. He was just like them. He did send me an apology after my mum told me she called him, but none of this is the main reason I'm giving you this update this early. I got a call this morning from an unknown number. I hesitated because I thought it was one of them. And I was right, but it was none of the people who insulted me. I heard a woman's voice who introduced herself as the half-sister of my brother's wife. She said it didn't go unnoticed what her family was doing, and she wanted to apologize for them. I told her I'm not going to tell anyone in her family about this and that I don't blame her for her family's actions. She thanked me and hung up. I don't know why, but I have this feeling she only did this to protect her family from being reported. My mother wrote to me earlier that she wants to report the insults and the harassment of these people, and that she demands my brother divorce his wife. Or she will disinherit him from her will, because that's not how she raised him. A little radical, in my opinion, but I understand where she's coming from. This entire thing escalated so much, it's unbelievable. Thank you all for your support on my first post. After this update, most comments were full of advice. Someone warned, another commenter added, "As a mum, I'd do exactly what your mum did. It's heartbreaking, but if my child sided with homophobic people over his own family, I'd disown him too." In his next update, a few days later, Opie gave more insights into the situation. Update 2, 11 days later. It's been a few days. First of all, my boyfriend and I are fine. Luckily for us, they didn't go any further than their text messages. My mum filed a report against them. I don't know the current situation about that, as I haven't filed the report myself. The reason I'm updating you is a different one. First of all, one person in my sister-in-law's family is actually going to testify in my favor and against her family. It really takes courage to do so. It's the same person who called me in the last update. Somehow, they found out that she is into women. No reason to hide it anymore. However, she says she's fine and is going to stay at a friend's house. I have so much respect for what she does. Imagine the strength you need to testify against your own family. I now feel bad for assuming she only called me to save her family from being reported. More importantly, what is the current situation with my brother? Well, my mum talked to him and told him to leave his wife, or she would disinherit him from her will. He decided to stay with his wife, and my mum made her threat come true. He's no longer in her will. My father did the same. When I visited them, I also told them that I wish this entire situation had gone differently. They assured me it's not my fault, but I feel like if it wasn't for me, then my family wouldn't be ripped apart like this. I haven't talked to my brother since then. My boyfriend feels similar. He also told me he kind of feels responsible for all this chaos. I assured him it's not his fault. But honestly, I wasn't even sure if I could say this in my position. On the other hand, it was my sister-in-law's family's bigotry that ruined everything, and everything would have been fine if I could have just attended. But now it's time for me to grow distant from this situation. We'll see what the report will do. I followed your advice to document everything. The insulting and harassing messages continued until 2 days ago. So, I have much to say about them. Unfortunately, homophobia is still very much normalized in our society. I already said it in a post on my profile, but the reason I'm so calm and casual about the situation is the simple fact that I'm used to situations like this. They don't get to me anymore. If I let any insult get to me, I wouldn't make it for a long time. It's a coping mechanism. I've been in situations where I was sent to the hospital because I kissed my boyfriend in public. So insults and harassment like this is nothing I haven't seen before. I want to say thank you for all your support on my first 2 posts. Reddit had some thoughts to share after that update. Top comment shared, another added. 2 months later, OP shared that the case against the bride's family was resolved. Update 3, 2 months later. I think some of you all are waiting for an update, so here I am. Keep in mind that this update will probably be the last one. Last time, I told you my mother was pressing charges against them, and to my surprise, we won. They weren't going to jail or anything, but they had to pay for their actions, literally. There was one incident where my sister-in-law's dad was actually trying to find out where I lived and asked my brother who told him. Only God knows what he would have done to us if we still had lived there. But in the time span of the last 2 months, my boyfriend and I moved to a different place, which my brother didn't know anything about. Also, their social media accounts were deleted. However, I don't know if this was part of their punishment or if they did it themselves. My mom also carried out the threat towards my brother and disinherited him from her will. After he came back from his honeymoon, he begged her to put him in again. She said only if he apologized to me. She invited me and my boyfriend over, and my brother sat in the living room with this mad look on his face. She made him apologize, but I didn't accept this apology because I could tell it wasn't sincere. He did it because he had to, not because he was actually sorry. I told my brother that I am disappointed in him for who he has become. Before that, we had this huge bond, usually never judged each other for stuff like this, and all of a sudden he has such a problem with me having a boyfriend. I just don't get it. I told him that I miss the old him. He didn't respond to anything. He just sat there quietly, staring at the floor. After I finished, he just got up and left. This was the last time I spoke with him, and it's already been a few weeks since this happened. My parents paid much more attention to the discrimination I face since this incident. They wanted to learn more about the problems I face as a queer person. I really love them. My dad even got a bisexual pride flag for me and asked if he could hang it in our bedroom. I love that I have such great parents. I just wish for my brother to become the person he once was. By the way, since the case with my sister-in-law's family is over, I haven't heard anything about their lesbian daughter. She supported us during the process, but we lost contact afterwards, and I just hope she's fine. Here are the reactions this time. One pointed out, the fact that your brother gave out your address, knowing full well that they meant to do you harm, that would have ended it for me. No coming back from attempted assault or murder by proxy. Another commenter agreed. Yeah, I agree. The moment I saw that, I basically regarded him as irredeemable. Sad to see such an incident take place, but glad you could learn you have such supportive parents, and I'm sorry for the loss of your brother, in the sense that he's chosen this hill. Many months later, OP returned one last time with good news. Update 4. 8 months later. The final update of my story happened 6 months ago, and I figured some of you might be interested in how things are currently doing. So, I'm back, at least for this post right now. Some things have happened. First of all, I want to give you an update about the sister of my brother's wife. Around 2 months after my last update, she texted us and asked if she could come over. We talked for a while, and I was relieved to find out that she is fine. She said that she moved in with her girlfriend when the case was over simply because her parents and the rest of her family had disowned her and threatened her with physical violence if she dared to return. However, the relationship with her girlfriend ended after a while, and she asked us if she could stay for a few days until she found something. She stayed with us for 2 weeks. During that time, my parents visited us and offered for her to stay with them because they had a big house with some free space. She stays there currently because she wanted to study, and my parents had no problem with letting her stay a little longer. My boyfriend and I also support her financially a little bit. We included her in several different celebrations, such as Christmas and New Year's Eve, and I feel like she's like the sister I never had. What's probably more interesting for you is how my brother is currently doing. The truth is, I don't know exactly. We haven't talked since the apology. However, he actually tried to attend our Christmas celebration party, but the moment he appeared, my dad kicked him out and said that, and I quote, "This homophobic rubbish is no longer allowed in my house." I love him. Oh, by the way, of course, both went through with disowning him. My boyfriend and I are still together, and I feel like he might be the one I want to marry. This entire situation made our bond so much stronger. I plan on proposing to him, but there are so many ideas floating around in my head for the proposal that I can't really decide which one. Also, the social media accounts of my sister-in-law's family have disappeared entirely, all of them, but I assume they already made new ones under a new name. Reddit was happy with this final update. But one commenter warned, "Be sure to also hire security at your future wedding in case your brother, his wife, and his in-laws try to boycott it in any shape or form if they somehow find out where it'll take place." OP replied, "I never thought about that, but true. If someone would try to do something like this as revenge, it's them. I'll keep this in mind." Another commenter said, "At least something good came out of all this chaos. Helping another person. Those people are the worst hypocritical assholes in this world, acting like they are saints. Live your best life and leave the haters behind." One day, your brother will open his eyes, but nothing will be the same. Am I the asshole for laughing when my aunt told my stepmom that being depressive doesn't make you sleep with a married man? Sorry for the long title. I really had no idea what title to put to explain the situation. My first language is Spanish. Long story short, 2 years ago, my father left my mother to go with his mistress, whom I will call Anna, common name. My mother never had any idea about the infidelity. Anna knew that my father was married. She even went to the house with him to take his things. One day, he simply told my mother that he was no longer in love with her and wanted to be happy with Anna. I was there when everything happened. Anna was depressed. She had many scars on her legs and arms. I don't go to my father's house. It makes me uncomfortable to be around them for obvious reasons. Anna is overly nice and it's really uncomfortable. A few days ago, it was my grandfather's birthday and the whole family was together, including Anna. I have an aunt who suffers from depression and other more serious things like schizophrenia. She has tried to hurt herself many times. For some reason, my aunt and Anna were talking about some serious things, and at one point Anna began to say that depression made her do many things trying to feel fulfilled. That she could only overcome depression when she met my father and he saved her. That meeting him was the key to overcoming her depression, and now she's finally happy thanks to him. I know about that because Anna often tried to bond with me by telling me how much she suffered in her life and how my father saved her. She has always justified herself that she was depressed and was in a hard place in her life before my father saved her. It always makes me feel uncomfortable, and I don't feel empathy for her, no matter how sweet she is. Talking about how many times you try to kill yourself in front of my 8-year-old sister is not something normal. Anna has always tried to paint her relationship with my father as a fairy tale that began in a different way, but that she doesn't regret anything because her world is perfect now. At that moment, my aunt said something like, I tried to save myself by going to a psychologist, not by jumping on the dick of a married man. And then she began to say that depression made her want to jump off a bridge, but not ruin a family. I just laughed. It was funny. My aunt may have her mind elsewhere all day, but it was crazy to see her make such a sly comment. But when my father was taking me home, Anna was crying, and he scolded me for laughing at what my aunt said, saying that no one knows everything that Anna suffered. I know. She always talks about that. I didn't apologize, but now I think, was I really wrong to laugh? From my point of view, my aunt was right. Reddit's comment section didn't hold back. The first voice of reason came from one user who tried to be diplomatic but still drew the line clearly. They wrote, laughter would seem inappropriate given what your aunt said. You are not required to apologize to Anna, but it is true you do not know what she has endured, and if she was worse off than your mother, with that said, your dad would be the one at fault in this mess. OP replied, doubling down, both are to blame morally above all. Then came another commenter, who didn't mince words. OP replied to them, saying, honestly, in the past I've argued with them about it, but Anna always cries, and my father says it's cruel to tell her that. At this point, I prefer to ignore them. Update 1. Hello. Something's happened over the weekend. My aunt came to our home, I live with my mother, and told my mum what happened. My sister is an 8-year-old girl, and she really hates Anna. Anna once tried to get along with my sister and told her about the time she wanted to commit suicide and how my dad saved her. After that, my sister came home asking my mother if she had ever thought about committing suicide. That's not a question an 8-year-old girl should ask, and my sister even asked me questions about suicide after that. I don't really know what else exactly Anna said to her, but it definitely affected her as a little girl. It's not even something you should talk about with a girl of that age. My mother was furious, and since that day, she has forbidden my father to have my younger sister near Anna, as she considers her a dangerous and unstable person around children. Since that day, things have been really tense between my father and my mother. My little sister doesn't want to visit our father, so she is fine with this. My aunt told my mother that Anna talked about it again, but this time in front of me. Apparently my father and Anna were totally forbidden to talk about these things in front of me too. I'm not a little kid, but apparently that was the arrangement my mother made with my father when she set boundaries for them. My aunt told her what happened that day, and I confessed to my mother that Anna and my father talk a lot about those suicide attempts in front of me, which is something I should have talked about before, but at that moment I didn't want problems and decided to just ignore them. I told my mum that for that reason I am not going to my father's house anymore, and my mother got very upset with him. The next day, she went to talk to my father. I don't know what they talked about. She just came back saying that Anna can't get close to us anymore. She told me that she can't forbid me from being near my father, and that's my decision, but Anna is extremely forbidden to set foot in the same place where my sister and I are. My paternal grandparents agreed, and my aunts too. They knew about the situation with my younger sister. I haven't spoken to my father, but my cousin told me that my father argued with my grandfather. He often says that Anna is a good person and we don't understand the pain she suffered, so I guess is upset with all of us now for our great lack of empathy, as he always says. I don't know. At least now I won't see them for a while. It was a boring update, but that's what happened. Haha. Info. My father is only 3 years older than Anna. She is not much younger than him or anything like that. From what Anna told me, she always tells it, they met at work. She called my father every time she tried to commit suicide, and so he began to help her. Anna used to go to a psychologist but said that she decided to leave it because that did not help her. Then she met my father and well, according to her, he saved her. It is disturbing to hear her talk about how she always sent messages to my father since he was her only support, her words, and he ran and left everything at home to go with her every time she was feeling bad. A sociopath in my books. But Reddit wasn't done yet. When OP returned with her first update, the audience's tone shifted from judgment to sheer outrage. That's when a user stepped in and delivered one of the most quoted replies on the thread. They said, "Maybe you should arm your cousins with the following response. A good person doesn't talk about suicide with an 8-year-old whose brain hasn't developed fully to understand its implications. Or a good person doesn't have sex with a man who is in a committed relationship." OP laughed in her reply, saying her cousin didn't like Anna either, and that it was her father who kept defending her. Months later, OP returned with devastating news. Update 2. Hi, I wasn't planning to make another update, but we've had a lot of problems with Anna, too many, and I think now even my father has realized that she's crazy. I have stopped going to see my father, and my father's parents stopped allowing him to go with Anna to their house since I am there a lot, and my mother does not allow her to come near me or my sister. Anna began to have the strange behavior of starting to send me texts. First, she apologized to me but insisted that my father misses me and my sister. I replied to her that my mother does not allow us to talk to her, and she said that she is my father's partner, so we have to get used to her being around. She started to talk badly about my mother, saying that I'm too young to realize it, but my mother is manipulating us, and that's wrong, because she's not allowing us to be a family. I'm young, but I'm not dumb. I didn't answer her again and showed the messages to my mother, who spoke to my father again. My father knew nothing about this and apparently had an argument with Anna about this, since now my mother is planning to take away his last name from our name to end this shit show and protect us. I don't understand too much about this, but in my country you can go to court and take out your father's surname, making him have no right over you anymore. I honestly believe that neither my sister nor I would have any problem with this, but I think my mother just said that to scare him. This is something I heard from my aunt, and I don't know how much of this is real, but my father has been staying at my grandparents' house. One of those nights, Anna went to knock on the door looking for him just to argue. She and my father began to argue. Anna yelled at my dad that he couldn't leave her like that, but nothing else happened because my grandfather kicked her out. My aunt also told me that my father told her that Anna sends him messages like, "If you leave me, I will kill myself. You can't leave me." So my father is afraid of leaving her and afraid of her. Less than 2 days ago, I found out that my father had to leave work quickly because she sent him goodbye messages. Nothing happened to her. She just cut her arms as always. My aunt said that this is something that Anna has always done. Even when the affair started, she sent him messages saying that she was about to commit suicide so that my father would go to her. This is something that Anna also told me, but in a more romantic way. It always scared me. I have no contact with my father and I avoid him when he's at Grandpa's house. But as far as my aunt has told me, he doesn't know what to do since he misses us, but is afraid to leave her and that she will kill herself. I feel bad for thinking this, but I'm really relieved to be hearing all this from afar. I'm so thankful that my mum forbade us from seeing her before all this happened. And honestly, this is his karma, so I'm not going to get into this. I'm sorry for the disrespect. Anna took her own life when my father went to get some of his things with Grandpa and was scared that she could hit or do something to him. That's all I know. But she killed herself while they were loading some of my father's stuff into the car. I'm very shocked. I wanted to think about what everyone told me, that she wasn't going to do it. I don't want to talk to my father at all. Is this wrong? Want my mother to take us away from him? I don't know. I go to a psychologist, and my sister too, but neither of us wants to talk to my dad even now. I don't want that drama in my life. My psychologist says it's normal, and I shouldn't talk with him if I don't want to. My sister hates him. I don't feel bad for Anna either, and that makes me feel worse. The last thing I heard about her before this was that the police didn't do anything because they never do anything, and she refused to continue her psychological treatment because, according to my aunt, they would tell her that she should be hospitalized, and that happened to my aunt in the past too. I didn't know that. I remember my father telling her about her appointments with the psychologist and even the psychiatrist sometimes because of the medications at the start of that relationship, but she would refuse and say she was fine. She wasn't young or naive. She was 34, almost my parents' age. I even think she had more control in the relationship than my father. She was a grown woman, and I can admit that these last days I was nervous about her because of all the things she was doing. I don't feel bad about her death. I even feel very relieved that she is dead, and it is something that my aunts have also told me. Everyone feels like that about her. They and my psychologist say that it is normal to feel that way. But anyway, I prefer to think that I am a better person than her and my father, so I'm not going to be happy about it, but respectful. It's sad to think that we're all relieved when someone died. She wasn't a good person at all. My father is not a good person either, and I know it. He is not. He left us until it occurred to him to want to play family with that woman, and even so, my mother had always encouraged us to talk to him. They both did a lot of things to my mother during the divorce process, but now I just want my mother to continue to forbid my father from seeing us until we want to see him. Anna scared me. I also feel guilty thinking that she may have seen one of my posts, even though I don't know if she knew English or the existence of this app. I think I'm rambling a lot, and this post doesn't make sense, but I just wanted to say that's why I deleted the posts. It makes me feel guilty, the null possibility that she has seen them, even though she hasn't. Another added, it's one of those conflicting updates. I am kinda happy that Anna isn't suffering anymore, and now she is not a problem to everyone anymore, but this should not be possible. It's so wrong that she wasn't forcibly hospitalized a long time ago. Another user summarized this perfectly. Opie's father put them through a lot. That man scarred them for life, and I, too, would cut him off. He threw his whole life away for a woman who used her declining mental health to sucker him in. He wanted to be her savior, but she needed to save herself. I think my nurse is trying to groom me. Honestly, this is so weird to me that I just want to yell into the void. I, 16 female, have stage 2 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Whenever I go into the center for treatment, I generally have the same set of nurses divided by techs treating me. I don't know if it's the same in all oncology places, but I feel like you can just see that a lot of the staff feel bad about all the kids who are sick here. They do a lot of stuff with us, give us stuffed animals, stickers, ice pops, when I don't feel like puking from my infusions. Just generally trying to make us feel better, because I guess no one likes to see sick kids. Anyway, I thought for a while that this was what my male nurse was trying to do, but recently I've been thinking that's not quite it. He gives me a lot of compliments on my appearance, which I thought at first was because I was insecure about my hair, but they've become focused a little on my body. He told me he thought I'd look cute in a little black dress. He gave me a red lipstick as a gift too, which is weird. He's also been getting more handsy. I was puking at my last session. Gross, I know. And while he was pulling my hair back, one of his hands was on my chest. I was obviously not in a place to tell him to fuck off, but it was so uncomfortable. My mom hasn't seen it because we've gotten to a point where she just has to drop me off and pick me up after. I'm just not exactly sure what I should be doing, and I kind of want to scream about it. I'm also sad because this nurse genuinely made me feel special and cared for, and it suddenly clicked in my head that he's actually a creep. Also, what do I even do? Like, I obviously can't stop my cancer treatments. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. This one hit Reddit like a gut punch. The comments turned into a mix of maternal outrage, medical authority, and protective fury. The most powerful comment came from someone who said what every parent and nurse was thinking. Honey, I'm a mom. I have chronic illnesses, and I've worked in healthcare. None of this is okay. Mom hat. Talk to your mom. She's dropping you off because she trusts the staff to take care of you. They are failing at that. Chronic illness patient. You trust your care team to care for you, not take advantage of the fact you're young and incredibly sick. Healthcare professional. If I saw or heard this kind of behavior of a fellow colleague, I'd be disgusted and I'd absolutely report it to my superiors. My husband said, I'd absolutely smoke that guy because he has daughters. There's no human out there that thinks this kind of behavior is okay. And Up's response broke everyone's heart. You don't think it'd be too much for me to tell my mom? She trusts that they take care of me, but it's mainly because she still has to work that she drops me off. I hate causing more problems for her. She was 16, battling cancer, and still worried about being a burden. That single reply was the moment the tone of the thread shifted. The crowd turned protective, almost primal. A Redditor, who claimed to be an oncology nurse, chimed in immediately. If a patient told me this about a male nurse, I know for sure none of us would protect him. We would report him immediately. And another spoke directly to Up's fear. It doesn't matter if he's just being nice. Trust your instincts. Feeling creeped out isn't conducive to good health. Ask your mom to come in with you next time. OP came back with an update a few days later. Update 4 days later. So I had another session of chemo today and shit kind of hit the fan, and I figured those of you who messaged me would appreciate an update. I didn't actually tell my mom what was happening. I got too nervous and chickened out. I did ask her to come with me to my appointment today though, and she did. Like some of you said, he acted differently when she was there. He didn't touch me at all and didn't compliment me how he usually does. There was a period of a few minutes though where she left to go to the bathroom, and he got really close to me and made a comment about how it was weird my mum was here today and how he liked our alone time. He got really close to me and sat on the edge of the bed I'm in for my sessions. Then he brushed my hair behind my ear and got close, like the way you see in romance movies before people kiss, and I was so uncomfortable. Also, thinking back, that was a dumb move on his part. Anyway, thank fuck for my mum's timing because she walked in with another nurse she was having a conversation with and they both saw what was happening. I think all of us froze for a second before my mum was cursing him out. I think she would have decked him if I didn't grab her hand before she could. Anyway, I refused to talk about it for the rest of my infusion session, but afterwards a bunch of people were asking me questions, and they said something about a report. My mum threatened to call the cops or sue or something. I don't know how serious she was or if she was just mad. But yeah, my mum said that she'd make sure someone came with me for all my sessions in the future. The nurse lady who was in charge said she'd personally be my nurse whenever she worked and that if she wasn't working, she'd have a woman she trusted with me. They also let me pick out a stuffed animal because I've always really liked them. I got a stuffed elephant and named her Ellie. I know it's unoriginal. Don't come for me. When we got home, my big sister practically went feral and bounced between lecturing me about noticing inappropriate behavior and threatening bodily harm to the nurse. She was mad that my mom didn't actually punch him. My mom was a little mad that I didn't tell her why I really wanted her to come before, but it doesn't seem like she's really mad. She keeps hugging me and telling me that she loves me. So, yeah, problem probably resolved. Edit. For those of you messaging me, telling me I was dumb not to tell my mom the whole story, and telling me that by waiting to tell so long, I let other people suffer, please stop. My mom ended up finding out in the end, and I was scared to say anything earlier. Scared I was wrong, scared people would be mad at me, scared people wouldn't believe me. I was just scared. I know, Streisand effect and all that, but I already know that I was stupid and would appreciate it if you'd stop telling me what I already know. I already know that I didn't do this right, and that other people probably suffered because I was scared. The comments afterward turned into a wall of love and fury. People flooded in to tell her she did everything right. One person wrote, "They are not mad at you, and it is not your fault. They are furious that someone thought to take advantage of a vulnerable young girl. I don't even know you, and I was ready to fight the guy for you." Another echoed the same. "Darling, you aren't perfect." Nobody is. They get away with it because they are good at making it seem like it's all in our heads. You did great. You got help, and he was stopped. And one user added the most chilling truth. You were not the first, by the way. He seems to have a nice little plan going from what you're saying. Hugs, hugs, and even more hugs. Then, as if the story hadn't already been surreal enough, someone claiming to work at her hospital appeared in the thread. Shit. OP, check your PMs please. I think you might have been the girl at my hospital today. If it is you, I promise none of us are mad at you at all. We all just want to make sure you're safe and feeling okay after what happened. And when OP confirmed it really was her, the nurse dropped a line that turned the thread from tears to catharsis. Elena, the nurse who walked in on him with your mum ended up actually punching him in the face after you left. He won't get near you or any of our other kids ever again. Hundreds of Redditors started cheering on that one punch. The nurse even told OP that her stuffed elephant, Ellie, could be microwaved to use as a heating pad and that the staff was secretly putting together a surprise gift for her next appointment. Honestly, we live in a pretty bizarre world. What kind of sick, twisted individual preys on a child with cancer? That poor child. It's so disgusting, and I'm hoping that he got way more than that punch. The hospital should blacklist him and end his career. I'm happy it's sorted for the OP, but I'm so beyond pissed that someone would even act like that to a child. Not enough is being done about these creeps and weirdos. Chop his dick off and maybe the rest will learn. And that's it for today's video. These stories were honestly tough to sit through. Betrayal always hits different, especially when it comes from people you least expect.